Well, guys, welcome back to Stalking Shadows, and this is the first podcast we are going to be filming in our little makeshift studio here in one of our hunting cabins back home in SA. So let's get stuck into it. And as you guys have watched on Stalking Shadows YouTube, we have gone to the platforms of Spotify and Apple Podcasts now, so you can go and listen to all 3 seasons on those platforms to get to find out more about where I started and where I am now as a professional hunter and an outfitter in South Africa. And the reason for these interviews or podcasts, this one's with myself, we're going to be discussing the hard truths about the industry and things that you need to look out for in the industry when you're booking your first trip to South Africa or coming out with a group of friends, or just even wanting to find out more about the industry itself. This is where you need to tune in and come take a listen. These are all my personal opinions, guys, and what I've had to go through the industry. So I might be upsetting a few people as we go along the way, but the truth is the truth, guys. So let's get stuck into it. So this episode's all about, I want to put it as outfitter pressures. Outfitter pressures onto young guards in the industry. And I went through a lot of crazy things in my time period from being a freelance guard. So I started out in 2009 where I registered as a guard. And I probably did my last freelance guard gig with a good friend of mine, Tony McHugh, at his company in 2019. So I did 10 years of freelancing, guys. So I do have a lot of interesting stories, and I've hunted a lot of guards. Hunted a lot of clients. So it's all coming from personal experience. So let's get into one of the first things about outfitter pressures on young guards. There are crazy things that outfitters would ask you to do as a young guard, and you feel obligated to go out and do these things. So the rule in South Africa is, or when I did it, you had to be 21 years old to register as a guard. 21, you're still a young buck, you think you know everything. I myself, got myself in a lot of trouble, thinking I knew stuff, and got humbled quite quickly when you get out into the big wide world. So I was lucky in the sense that I only registered as a guard when I was around 24 years of age. And I think going out and learning about the world and growing up a little bit, this helped me when I got into these sticky, unpredictable pressures from a outfitter. So let's dive into the first incident that I had as a young guard. Is we in South Africa have very, very strict rifle laws. All right, guys, we can own our own personal rifles. If you're not accredited with big accreditations and done your PH license stuff, you're limited to 4 weapons on your name. So when you get to a company and they say they have rifle hire, you can hire whatever caliber there is. 300s, 270s, 7mm mags, ultra mags, everything. Make sure that they are actually giving you the truth, because every company that I've hunted for doesn't have all the calibers. And 99.9% of the time, if you are hiring a rifle, the rifle belongs to the professional hunter. And this is where things get a bit tricky and a bit blurred. For a client to use a specific rifle in South Africa, if it's a company-owned rifle, those weapons need to be licensed correctly under accreditation, where the license is actually under the company name, not a personal name. If it's under a personal name, the client may hunt with the person who the weapon is licensed to. So this is where pressures come in, where outfitters, when you're young, they've hired their weapons to clients, and you have to travel with this weapon that belongs to the outfitter in his personal capacity on public roads, off the ranch, which is extremely illegal. And what it would boil down to is that you'll be arrested when you get pulled over and you've got a weapon that's not licensed in your name. You and your client will both be going to jail and everything will be confiscated. So this is where outfitters pressure PHs to, if they're not using their rifles or not willing to hire their rifles because it's their own personal weapon, you are forced to use these weapons. And a lot of the companies are not licensed correctly. And when I brought the question up, I said to the guy, is this thing accredited? Where's the book to sign that I can sign the rifle out to a client? And where will we be hunting with these things? I got a lot of flack, but I was old enough to ask the questions, and I stood my ground when I said things are illegal and are incorrect, which meant by the next season, I was not hunting at that company. So this is where the transparency needs to be with clients, outfitters, and they need to know when they come out and they're hiring a weapon. Whose weapon are they hiring? Why are they hiring it? Why can't they hire the weapons that they were promised at the shows? And this is one tip for those that are coming out. So outfitters will pressure you to do what they call, to them it's not illegal. They say it's not illegal. It's just blurring the lines. It's as legal as it gets. It's as illegal as taking something from the store and not paying for it. So just ask those questions when you're out here. The second thing that I had to deal with as a young guard is hunting in enclosed areas with clients. Take your client into that area. Go hunt that specific animal. You're being pressured. You are a professional hunter. You're a professional guide. You've been licensed to hunt professionally and conduct yourself professionally. And you're getting there, and the outfitter is manipulating you to hunt in small areas, behind small fences, and telling you specifically what animal to shoot in those areas. Young PHs are not confident enough to tell the landowner or the outfitter to say, I will not do that. They are too scared to lose their jobs. So what they do is they take you as the client and go and hunt you in those areas, try and make a mock hunt out of it and make it as challenging and as exciting as it can be, because they physically are too scared to tell the outfitter that they will not hunt under these conditions. So you get a lot of problems. Then guys go back home, they're upset with their hunt, and the poor PH has been put into a prediction where there is a terrible situation and he's too scared to answer to the client. So you need to, as a young PH, figure out what companies these are and stay very, very far away from them, because at the end of the day, you are the face of the company and your name gets muddied overseas when they go, friends come there, where did you shoot that animal? Why did you shoot that animal? Who did you shoot that animal with? They'll go, my PH was so-and-so first, before they mention the company they hunted with. So bear that in mind, guys. This is just another tip for you as a young PH to get confidence. And when you're feeling uncomfortable in a situation, tell your outfitter you're not comfortable doing those things. So let's get on to another crazy story. So this is probably, I want to say around 2013, 2014, round about there. And I ended up at this very fancy company. I thought it was fancy. It was one of the biggest in the industry. And I was sitting there with my client. We were having a good hunt. I've spoken about this place before. They've got fenced off areas which I avoided like the plague, and hunted the big areas and hunted off the property, because that's the type of hunting I like to do. And this specific hunt, I was busy with my client, and the outfitter was approached by another client in camp, and they wanted to hunt a baby giraffe. Now, guys, I don't know about you, and I've been a professional hunter for years. That is ethically incorrect. Why the hell would you want to go and hunt a baby giraffe? So the outfitter comes to me and says, Wayne, I would like you to take this guest. I know it's not your client, but your client's having a rest this afternoon. Please, would you take him out to go and hunt a baby giraffe? And I looked at the outfitter and I said to him, why would I take a client to go hunt a baby giraffe? It's ethically incorrect and I don't feel comfortable doing it. No, they would like a full mount of this giraffe, taxidermied, so it can fit in their house. And I stood, excuse me guys, and I stood there and I said to the outfitter, I'm a professional hunter. It's not my job. This is not my client. And I refuse to take the client out. And a lot of young professional hunters in that situation would never stand there and tell their outfitter no. Guys, if it doesn't fit with you, if it doesn't sit right with you, you have a voice to stand there and say no. Again, the things that come with it afterwards, you must understand, you may never hunt there again. I was quite happy with not hunting at a company where they turned around and pushed you into corners to do things that you felt uncomfortable with. And you find great outfitters out there, guys. I'm not painting all outfitters with the same brush. There's some really good guys out there that you'll learn a hell of a lot from. But there are a lot of guys out there that are just there to make money. Like this specific guy wanting a PH to go and shoot a baby giraffe with his client. Why didn't he take the client himself and go and do it? So it was the whole mentality at that place is I pay your salary, you will go and do these things. Another incident where a lot of these hunting companies hunt so many clients through the year that they shoot up a lot of their quota and they buy in a lot of game. They become dump and hunt factories. And I ended up at this place, and this place at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, they are waking you up to go and offload their truckload of gemsbuck that's arrived, and the clients can start hunting them the next morning. Guys, again, stay away from these places. I turned around and I said, I'm not hired to do that. My job is to hunt with my client in the morning. And I turned over and stayed in bed, where all the young guys jumped out of bed, ran out there, hopped in their trucks, went and helped offloading all the game. And I said to them, no ways. Needless to say, guys, I didn't hunt for that company again. Outfitter pressures is a real thing, guys. And these are just some of the stories that I'm wanting to share with you and what you need to look out for when you're hunting in an area. Again, another one, if a guy's got game all over his property and he can show you that there are animals in certain pens, if you may. This guy had caught bush pig and he put the bush pig in the pen. He asked me to come and age the pigs and sex the pigs that were in the pen because his client wanted to shoot one. And then he asked me again to shoot it with the client. And I said, no ways. There's a perfectly good bush pig bait set up on the property where the pigs are eating. We've done the hard work. But this guy was all about quick. We're sitting there at the dinner table and he comes back with a young client. The client may have been 16 years old. He came out with his grandparents and his father and mother and everything like that. Big smile on his face, big story. I have just gone and shot 2 bush pig. And I'm like, that's funny. 2 bush pig. So quickly. You oaks are back before the pigs even came in to eat at the bait. Needless to say, that guy had taken his client and shot the 2 pigs in the pen. So, guys, I'll repeat it. Beware of these places. You have done your license. You know the laws. You know the rules. Have your own voice when you are a guide. be polite, have good manners, and make sure that everything that you do is done at the best of your ability, and don't let anyone force you into a situation that you are uncomfortable with. Rather, leave the company and find somewhere where the company fits your brand and your mold. And the sad part about it in the industry, there are too many of these companies floating around that are willing to put so much pressure on their clients. So, I got one more story to tell you guys regarding the rifle hire situation where I had left out, but I think it's a good story to tell you guys. So the rifle hire story comes where the rifle belongs to the PH. The outfitter charges a daily rifle hire rate. Your poor PH only gets a percentage of that rate, even though the client is shooting his ammo and using his rifle in the bush, and the outfitter gets the largest portion of it. I myself, if I hire guards and they use their rifles for rifle hire, they will receive the full amount for that rifle hire. I don't see why outfitters should be taking cream off the top of a PH's salary when he already carries all the costs in a hunting camp or a hunting 10-day thing and only gets paid at the end of his safari. And this is where this situation happened. Was funny enough, it wasn't my own client. There was a client that was in camp with another professional hunter, and he was bow hunting. Unfortunately, he was struggling and he was running out of days, and the PH suggested to him that he hires a rifle now, otherwise he's going to be going home with no memories of getting an animal. He's going to have his memories of his hunt. So the client decided that he would hire a rifle. But at this specific company, there was a price on the website which was incorrect. There was a price on the brochures that the client had received which was not the same as the thing, and there was the price that the outfitter told us PHs to charge for rifle hire. There was about $5 difference with each, but unfortunately the one that we were told to charge the clients was the most expensive one, and I think at the time it was $30 a day or $25 a day if I'm not mistaken, and the other one was $20 and the other one was, call it 15 or 25 and 20. So there was a lot of discrepancy around rifle hire. And unfortunately this evening I wasn't in camp. I had permission to go to a friend's wedding, but I'd be back early in the morning. My client was in camp and he overheard the conversation with this specific client, and he was hiring my rifle, and he got into the conversation saying, no, I've got the itinerary, I've got the paperwork, and this is what the rifle is. So what ended up happening was my client got into an argument with the other PH, saying that his client should pay what's on the paperwork, not what we are telling them, because that's what the outfitter had given them on paperwork, which all in all, that should have just finished it there and there. The PH should have just charged the lesser rate and be done with it. But the PH didn't let it go there because it was his rifle that the client was going to think, and his ammunition was expensive, and for him to cover the costs and the use of his rifle, he needed to make the $25 or $30 a day for his rifle. Otherwise, it wasn't cost effective for him to hire it at that price. So, what happens at the end of this whole thing is there's a hunt report sheet at the end of the day. Now, this specific outfitter never came to the lodge to meet his clients or deal with his clients or do paperwork with his clients. So the poor client would have to deal everything through the professional hunter, which is not fair on the PH. So we did all the paperwork and everything. So at the end of the hunt, there was a hunt report sheet there, and my client was very unhappy that the outfitter never visited, never came and met them, never had a meal with them, and wasn't there to deal with this situation, which clearly wasn't handled properly by that PH, or he didn't think it was handled correctly by that PH, and somebody should have been there to solve the whole issue. My client had no issue with me. He was super happy. We hunted with his granddaughter. We got all our trophies. And I didn't charge him rifle hire. I said, don't worry about the rifle hire. I'm quite happy not getting paid rifle hire. But I kept my client happy. I took it on the chin. But the outfitter spun this whole thing on me and said that I didn't deal with the situation properly. I said, but how? The report states that he was happy with me, happy with his trophies, happy with the way I conducted myself, happy with the way that I hunted with his granddaughter of 14 years old, and we had a great hunt. He was unhappy with you, but now because he's unhappy with you, you are unhappy with me and putting pressure on me to say that I didn't handle the situation properly, and I handled it in my manner the best way I could. And then what happens is you go home and get paid your money, you've been paid by the clients and everything like that, and the very next day you pull all of my hunts for the rest of the season. Outfitters don't like taking the blame, guys. They will drop you at the last minute, throw you under the bus, and this guy spun everything and made me out to be the baddie. The bloke refused to take my calls. He refused me coming to have a conversation with him. I'd kind of just lost my whole livelihood. But again, guys, another young PH would have taken this abuse and gone and back and sucked up to get back in with the company because he's desperate for the hunts. I was desperate for hunts, don't get me wrong, but I will not take the abuse from an outfitter and be blamed and labeled something that I'm not. So I think what young PHs need to do is actually get a voice, stand up to what's wrong, be polite, don't get aggressive, don't get angry, don't fight with your outfitter. But if it's illegal, don't do it, guys. If you wouldn't do it on your own ranch or do it somewhere else, there's no reason that the outfitter should push you into doing things that are illegal. So let's leave this one there, guys. If you want to find out more, drop a comment below. And if you want to ask a few questions, leave a comment there, or hit me up on social media. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, and let's talk more about hunting in South Africa. So till later, guys. Cheers.